This is our tech panel, so welcome. Our tech panel is like an initiative that we thought to have because I know that we're a coding society and that our focus is coding, but there's a lot of different pathways you can take in the tech industry, and we wanted to shed some light on the different opportunities we have here. So hopefully, if you're not that interested in coding, or if you are really interested, that you'll get more clarity on what you're looking for and what the real work of like a software engineer looks like, someone who isn't, someone who's in like tech strategy looks like, and what like the recruiters look for in this sort of field. Yeah, so I think we can just start off with the registration form. So April, can you change the slide? So the way that we're going to be running this workshop is, firstly, like, please register right here. We need like to make, like, even though these are all online, we really require attendance to be like ticked off because CNS. So please follow that link. Can someone add that to the chat so people can go onto it and then register? Is someone adding that to the chat?
Oh yeah, I've already got it there.
Cool, okay. And then just a few more logistical things. We are using Mentimeter. So if you go to just the site at the top and enter in this code 411927, you'll be able to actually ask your own questions to all the panelists here today. And just a few more logistical things before we get onto the panelists. We are giving away a Chromecast during this, so it will be kind of random, might be based on who asked the best question, or just a random draw. You'll have to find out. But yeah, so I'm encouraging you to ask questions. That's what that means. So yeah, we'll just start off with meeting the panelists. So I'll just introduce to start, and then everyone, yep.
Now, just quickly jump in. The site is www.menti.com. You can sign in and go onto that site on your phone or any device, like even a different tab on your browser. And once you go into it, you have to click ask a question. And then if someone asks a question, then you can actually see what's coming up on the screen live. Yeah, sorry, Ria, you can continue.
All good. That's actually very helpful. So I'm going to start off by, I'll just introduce me and Katherine. So I'm Ria. I'm the Vice President of MAC. I'm going to be co-hosting with Katherine. Katherine, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm an events officer at MAC and help put this event together. So, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so starting with the panelists, we have, April, do you want to change the slide? We have Ilasha Prabhu. She's from Microsoft. She'll tell you a bit about herself. Do you want to start, Ilasha? So
is that my cue? Okay.
I don't know if that was it is your cue.
Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, I'll give you guys a quick rundown on who I am. So I'm Ilasha. I studied information systems as part of the co-op program at UNSW, and I graduated last year in 2019. As part of the co-op program, I had the opportunity to undertake 3 industry placements, one at Bank of Queensland Specialist in second year, one at Deloitte in their Artificial Intelligence and Analytics team, and then my final one was at American Express, where I was a BA. And from there, I did a year-long internship at Microsoft last year in their education team, and now I've moved to Melbourne for Microsoft as a technology strategist, and I'm loving the role so far.
Awesome.
Bianca, or do you want to just introduce your background and perhaps where you studied and where you're working?
April, change the slide.
Thanks, guys. That's me. Hi, everyone. I'm Bianca Knight, and I'm from MYOB. But I guess the background about me, I actually, funnily enough, used to study interior design back when I graduated high school. So that was a long, long time ago for me now. Not last year for me, quite some time ago. But I did interior design at start, and then I decided that that really wasn't right for me. I took a few years just to kind of think about what really I wanted to do. And I actually went back to university to study a Bachelor of Business. During that time, I thought that I wanted to do public relations. I very quickly realized that that wasn't for me and decided to switch quickly to human resource management. From there, I worked in a local government in their people and culture team. I worked there for just over 2 years whilst I was still studying as well. I then moved into MYOB late in around August 2018. And my role at MYOB when I first started was a recruitment coordinator. So I was overseeing all the recruitment happening across the business in every single different function and division across all the different, across Australia and New Zealand as well. And then I had a pretty awesome opportunity to get more involved in the graduate recruitment space. So this time last year, one of my colleagues went on parental leave, which gave me an opportunity to step up into this space and work in graduate recruitment and development, whilst also working through some other initiatives we have at MYOB that really support our talent pipeline. And that's really getting involved with universities and schools as well, but also our awesome Develop Her program, which is an initiative that we have where we provide a scholarship to women to go and learn how to code to enter into our graduate program. So that's a bit about me.
Great, thank you. And lastly, we've got Katherine from Google, who introduced, a little bit about you.
Yep. So hi, I'm Katherine.
Sorry, okay,
Yes.
there you go.
Yeah, cool. So I'm Katherine. I studied computer science in Monash, and I graduated in 2018. In my second year, I got my first job in WSP Digital as a casual employee. And meanwhile, I attended in the competitive programming club in Monash and did a bunch of ICPC algorithm problem solving contests. And then I did IBL in Telstra for half a year in my last year at uni as software engineer. And currently I'm working in Google as a software engineer, and I've been in Google for almost 1.5 years. So I really enjoy coding, and I like the life of being a software engineer. So yeah, that's basically about me.
Great, thank you so much. So everyone, feel free to go on to menti.com, ask any questions.
Oh, we have some already.
Coming in. So yeah, so we're gonna have these questions coming in. They might be more suited to different people if they're specific. Pretty much other of the speakers can jump in if they want to answer, if it's more general. Yeah, just sort of casual, set up. So I guess, do we want to go with the first one? So how do you not take failure in a new job with inexperience personally and to heart? I really struggle with anxiety resolving around decision making when there are real world risks and consequences. So
do you want to go around, like starting with Ilasha and then?
Yeah, I'm happy to start.
Yeah.
I think this is a great question because I'm feeling this a bit right now as well. So I'm 5 months into my role and I still feel this just, sometimes I look at what I'm doing and I'm like, am I qualified to be doing this? But I think the beauty of uni and being able to do internships at university is that that's kind of your playing ground where you can test things out, you can take risks, and if you fail, it's okay because, at the end of the day, you're still a university student and you have things to fall back on. I think once you enter the real world and need to face these risks and consequences that you're talking about, I think it's really important to build a really solid support network. So that includes your family and friends, but also at work, look for people like your manager and maybe a buddy or a mentor or a sponsor at work, and make sure that you're frequently communicating with them how you're feeling. Yeah, that would kind of be my answer, and that's what I'm trying to do at the moment at work as well. But yeah, happy to pass on to Bianca or Katherine.
Yeah, great. Thank you. I think that this is something that a lot of graduates will feel coming into any workplace when they first learn their job. One thing that we know that people feel is that whole feeling of imposter syndrome as well. I think that what we try to do at MYB to make sure that you're really supported when you're coming into the program is we set you up with a buddy, we set you up with 2 mentors, and who your manager, which would be me at the time, who that person is to come and talk to should you need to as well. We also have additional services like EAP services for anyone who would like to speak to a professional for themselves as well. But I think it is really about that support network and building those relationships. So I encourage anyone on the call that when you do start your first job in the industry, to make a priority of building relationships with people, because that's your support network when you get to work. So definitely I can give that same sentiment that you had as well there.
Katherine, did you have anything to add on this one?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think there are two parts. One is from like our personal side. As us, we should not be afraid to ask questions. Like if we're afraid to make decisions and afraid to meet consequences, we can always ask. We can ask like our mentor or our boss, our manager, and ask them, if you were in this position, what would you do? And what other things we need to consider? I think like in most of the companies, like people are willing to answer questions. And also like as a company, I believe it's a good company. There will be a good environment. They will teach you like, don't be afraid to ask, and they will give you help. They will tell you all the consequences are handled by like all the people in this decision chain. They will make you feel safe. So I think that's the part I learned from the job.
Great. Yeah. I have another question I've seen popping up a lot about how did you get the job that you're in at the moment, and like how did you best market yourself for that job, for example through Git or resume, things like that, LinkedIn for example. So maybe Ilasha and Katherine, that's but like how did you find yourself in your tech roles, and maybe for Bianca, what do you look for in students when you're recruiting? Whoever wants to jump in. Ilasha, do you want to start maybe?
Sure, yeah. So for me, because I did the internship at the company I work at now, it was really easy. It was a lot easier for me because I was able to kind of build an internal relationship with people that I wanted to connect to in the business as I was considering what role I wanted to step into as a graduate. How I marketed myself is I had a really long look at my strengths and my weaknesses, and I tried to play to that when I was deciding what role to take. So I didn't go for, the most technical cloud solution architect role, or, I tried to stay close to people, close to technology, and I wanted to stay at Microsoft because it's an organization I really believe in. So yeah, I had to consider my strengths and weaknesses, and then I looked at what Microsoft had to offer, and yeah, I kind of made my decision based on that. And then when it came to them choosing me, I think they kind of took a similar approach in looking at what kind of skills were required for the job. And yeah, I can't really speak on behalf of my interviewers, but I'm hoping I fit their description. But yeah, that's how I tried to market myself to Microsoft.
Sorry, does anyone else want to jump in, Katherine or
Yeah, in terms of the tech field, for me, because I was an international student, so I was pretty desperate. So I basically sent my resume to almost like all the companies I'm interested in. And during my uni time, I spent a lot of time doing hackathon, competitive programming, and a lot of side projects. So when I actually get the interview, I get to talk about my project, my internship experience, and what I am passionate about. I think I recognize my strength and my weakness. My strengths was like I like coding, so when I talk about algorithm or coding stuff, I was super enthusiastic. But when it comes like behavior question, it might be my weakness. I tended to prepare more on those sides when I'm facing the interviews. So I think one tip I get is just trying to try as much as you can. Like some people saw like the criteria and feel like, oh, I'm not qualified, and they hold off their resume. But in my experience, I think it's always good to try and just send out your resume and introduce yourself to other people. Yeah.
I guess the recruiter side, I think these two answers are really awesome and give you guys a real good insight into what we look for and how to market yourself. But I think the biggest thing that we look for, on the recruiter side of things is what you've been involved in apart from your university studies. How have you been continue to be immersed in the tech world? The way that you present yourself as well. And I can only encourage you all that when you are looking for your role and you've got a a job that you're really interested in from a company, to really make sure you do your research around that company. One of the questions we always ask in our interviews is, why do you want to come and work for us? Like, what makes our company so exciting for you? And that question is usually one of the questions that you can find a really great answer to see how much research that person has done into your job and what they know about the company and how they're going to actually add to that company as well by through their recruitment process too, if you can actually uncover that too. So there's going to be different companies asking lots of different questions in different sort of ways as well. Some people will, focus more on, if you're looking for a software developer role, some people might focus on the coding at the start, but then other companies might not. For us at MYOB, we don't. Coding is actually one of the last things that we look at in our recruitment process. We have a really strong sort of process that really focuses on different kind of other skills as well. So things like communication, your passion for what you are applying for. So for our instance, it's your passion about software development and technology, your communication skills, your collaboration and teamwork skills as well. The different types of things we're actually trying to uncover and look for before we get to that final spot of coding. For us as well, we have a really key focus on problem solving and your ability to problem solve too. So kind of getting a bit of a sense of what the company's looking for is always a real sort of key as well to help you with your application process too.
Thanks for those answers. That was great. Ria, was you going to jump in?
Yeah, I actually had a question for all three of you guys. Mine's so like I'm sure you guys all face challenges at work. What do you think is the hardest challenge that you're currently facing, and how do you plan on, like, how do you guys overcome that?
I can jump in first. I think the challenge for myself at the moment is there's just so much going on sometimes, and one of the biggest struggles recently has been not able to easily just communicate with someone who you're working really closely with. You've really got to be almost super organized at this sort of point in time, especially while we're all working from home. I think at the start it was a huge shock to everyone, and it probably took around 2 weeks for us all to get into a little bit of a working swing. But once we kind of got there, we were able to reflect and look at what works and what doesn't work. And it was one of those times where we had to do this test and learn. Are these meetings working, or are they inefficient? Do we need to relook at how we're actually communicating with each other? Should we set up a meeting to collaborate on that? So it was a lot of test and learn around how we're going to collaborate and communicate whilst we're working remotely too. I think one of the biggest personal challenges for me at the moment is I love connecting with people and I love to talk to people. And so for myself at the moment, that's probably been the biggest challenge, is not having that easy access of communication and collaboration with people. But there are other ways of doing it, and people are only on the end of the call too. And one sort of thing that I've taken out from everything at the moment is I've actually been able to set a lot of time up to get those long, boring tasks that you always procrastinate and put aside. I've actually somehow managed to get a lot of them done, because I am in this very much like productive state at the moment of just continually keep on going, for sure. But that's some of the things that I've kind of come across recently. And for our graduates, for instance, some of them really struggled at the start with moving on to remote working. But something that we've actually found in our space is, because we've got graduates in all 3 locations, in Melbourne, Sydney, and in Auckland, that we're having a lot of cross communication and collaboration between the different locations, which is something that we didn't have as much of before. We really tried to get the teams to work together, but sometimes you just get so much, in depth your location base, and you don't actually reach out to other people. So that's been a really sort of amazing silver lining that's kind of come out of this. We've had teams working from different locations on different projects as well, which has been awesome.
Awesome.
Bianca, I hear you're on Microsoft Teams, right?
We are on Microsoft Teams, yes.
Nice. I can go next. I want to agree with Bianca. I think the biggest challenge I faced is the whole lack of working with people in person. So I moved to Melbourne for the role from Sydney, and I should have just stayed in Sydney, to be honest, because everything's pretty remote now anyway. But what I'm missing the most is I got a taste of what it's like to actually go out and visit customers. But even those like 20-minute Uber rides on the way to the customer, sitting with a colleague in the car, those are the kind of moments that I miss now, because now it's kind of just back to back, like your calendar is just full. You don't really get that candid time with your colleagues. So that's what I'm missing. And I think that's been the biggest challenge for me, just moving to another state with, you know, without my family and all that, but also not being able to go to work and see people every day. So yeah, over to you, Catherine.
So for me, I think I'm a bit awkward talking to people. So when I first joined the company, I was like, oh, what should I talk? Or what should I say? Like, especially when we have like an offsite and stuff, I was just sitting there and watch them drinking beer. I was like, should I bring some like coding jokes or something? But it turns out like everyone's pretty nice, and I just tried to start talking to people and found out like people are actually quite easy to communicate with. And once we started to communicate with each other, found that like in actual work, it's easier to communicate as well, because it requires a lot of understanding on like how to explain the code and what's wrong here when we debug. And at the beginning, because I was quite awkward, I have to think about how to talk formally. Like at uni, I can just like send emojis and chill, so it can explain things like very easily. But at the beginning, I was a bit awkward. But now, like since we became like closer and more familiar with each other, it's easier to talk in terms of work as well. So yeah, that's my biggest challenge before. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. So I guess just some questions that we've got from the students or people on Zoom. A lot of people want to know, I guess, the day-to-day of what it's like being in a software engineer position, and this one can go out to anyone as well. And I guess, what's it like working in big tech companies? So I guess, Ilasha, do you want to start with, what's your day-to-day and what's it like working at Microsoft?
Yeah, day to day, it's pretty packed, but no complaints, because it makes the day go by a lot faster than just staring at an empty calendar. Day to day, my activities really range. A lot of customer meetings. There's a lot of internal meetings as well. Like if there's a new announcement, then we all get to join that. Some nice all hands. We've had a few of those since this pandemic started, just to get updates. At Microsoft, we've dedicated 6 learning days a year. So we have one coming up this Friday, which is a day that we block out our calendars and just learn. And because of the pace of technology, that's super important. And that's something that I take pretty seriously, because I kind of need the time to learn and keep up with what's happening. So yeah, day to day, it really varies, but I want to say lots of meetings. That's my answer. Heaps of meetings. And does it live up to the hype? Was that the next question? The one on the screen?
Wait, before you answer that, do you want to explain like what your meetings are? Like,
yeah, good point. So it really varies, but with my role as a technology strategist, I work with around 8 of Australia's biggest retail companies on their digital transformation. So what that means is discussing things like cloud, modern workplace, collaboration, how these organizations can use Microsoft technologies to empower their workforce, and then also deliver the best experience to their customers, being in retail as well. So the meetings that I'm involved in are really about how we can get these customers on board with Microsoft technology, but also how they can extract the most value from the technology that we're providing them with as well. So for example, that could range from, Cricket Australia deploying Teams to their entire workforce, which made working from home a lot easier for them, all the way to, MYOB is one of our favorite customers for Azure, which is our cloud platform. So yeah, it really does vary, but it's all about Microsoft technology and all things great.
The next question is, does it live up to the hype?
I want to say yes, for sure. I think I can say this because I have had the opportunity to do some internships, but Microsoft really looks out for us, especially during this period where we've all had to work from home. Similar to a lot of other tech companies as well, they think about us and they make sure that we're okay. And the perks are always nice as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Catherine, or sorry, Bianca or Catherine, would you like to speak next?
I can chat to everyone in terms of not necessarily my role, because that might not be interesting for you all, but in the typical sort of week of what one of our protege developers would do at MYOB. So if I'm looking at what they would do on a day-to-day basis, they do a daily stand-up with one another, which has been really nice. I've actually been attending them on a daily basis as well, just to keep connected with the team. And they talk around what they're going to be working on for the day. So when they first join MYOB in the graduate program, they go into this phase called acceleration. And so during that phase, they work on little complex challenges that help upskill them in different areas. So each day they'll talk around what kata they're going to work on, and maybe if they're having any challenges, they might plan to pair up with one another or things like that. So that's usually what happens in a stand-up that they do in the morning. It's also a good time for us all just to check in, see how everyone's feeling, especially with working from home. It's nice to have that face-to-face time. And then during the week, they'll have multiple different meetings with their mentors. So they're given 2 acceleration mentors, that take them on a guided learning journey. And they'll do retros with their mentors. So talking about what's working well, what's working, what's not working. And that can be from a technical perspective, what's going right in the code, but that can also be, let's build on our relationship and what's working well in our team. What can we improve? How can, I learn better as a protege? And so they're the kind of things that they do. And then throughout the week, there's lots of coding and they upskill and they do lots of learning as well. And then when they move through the program, they start working on a cohort project too. We have Fridays kept aside for all of our proteges where it's a workshop day. And the types of workshops that they do at the moment is something we call role empathy sessions. And that's where you have someone from a different part of the business come in and talk about their role and how it's all integrated into the technology function. So you have business analysts, quality analysts, delivery managers. So there's lots of different types of roles which will come in and talk around how their role actually supports the technology function within the business at MYOB, and then multiple other different sort of workshops around technical skills and also soft skills that we focus on. So there's a big sort of focus on that learning day on their Friday, and then throughout the week they work on those challenges to help upskill them, to get them to a point before they move into what we call as rotations, team rotations. That's a bit of an idea of what the proteges do at the start.
Awesome. Catherine, would you like to speak next?
Yeah.
So reminder of the question, or you're all good?
Or we can move on to this one. I think a lot of people will be interested in side projects.
I think this is targeted at you anyway.
Yeah. So for side projects, from what I remember, I have like GitHub link, and it has some of my small projects. Like when I first started working, I got stuck on a test, and I can't find any answer on the internet, so I wrote one myself. I can't remember what was it about, but it's a Python thing that just run and it does the magic, and it will check everything and see if it passed or not. And I also did intelligence system at uni. And for that, I turned that into like a personal project to do a bit of machine learning on the decision trees. I put that on GitHub as well. And also because I did competitive programming, so I share a lot of my thoughts on the question I did on code forces. And that was like my biggest repository. And I have one hackathon experience, which has like a project I put on GitHub as well. So basically mine are all coding projects I actually did in my spare time. And when I go to the interview, I just show them why I did them and what I did. And I put those on my resume. That's basically what I did.
Awesome.
Do you want to, Catherine, talk about your day in the life at Google?
Yeah, sure. I'll make it short. So for Google, we are busy, but in a different way. Like we don't have a lot of meetings. We have like weekly arranged meeting to do like spring planning or checking out each other, how the projects are going. But we don't do a lot of like long meetings for software engineers, of course, not for managers. Managers are all packed with meetings. But we are busy in terms of doing trainings and catch up with other roles of people. Like sometimes I always have a coffee break with SREs in terms of how they do in their daily job and what they help us on our project. So we always do that during a lunch break or coffee break, and we meet up with a lot of people and we have a lot of training like machine learning, C++, Java, like all those technical trainings, and we just go and spend time there. Yeah, I think like mostly it's coding and meet up with people and do project planning and repeat and eat. That's basically our life.
Can I just say, Bianca and Ilasha, do you guys have anything to add in terms of side projects?
Yeah, I can say what I put on mine. So I also did a few hackathons and case competitions. The ones that were offered at UNSW were, you know, like your Google, your Microsoft. I did a Hitachi hackathon as well. So I definitely put those on my resume. Other than that, the internships always help as long as you learn something new from each of the internships you're doing. So I think one of my most valuable ones was my consulting internship, and I know that's pretty popular. So I would definitely recommend doing a consulting internship. What else did I do? I also took out the time to do some volunteer work because I genuinely wanted to. So yeah, I was a part of a not-for-profit in Sydney, and that's something I definitely put on my resume because it kind of shows what I'm passionate about outside of just the internships and hackathons and, you know, career related stuff. So yeah, that's what I put on mine.
I guess I can touch on it just briefly from like a recruiter lens and what sort of things we would like to see on a CV. And I'll talk very broadly because it's really dependent on which role you're applying for. But I think it's really important to make sure when you're adding things onto your CV, you're adding it on there for a purpose. And I think Aisha talked around a bit before about what did you learn. So if you can explain what you've learned from that project or from that internship, it's a demonstration of the knowledge that you've gained. And you're putting it on there with purpose. So it's always good to not just fill your resume with heaps of stuff and condense it to just one page just to fit it all on, to really think about, okay, I'm applying for MYOB and they're looking for people who are wanting to be a protege developer. Let's go research the company and let's figure out what they've been doing. Let's think about how the things that I'm going to add on to my resume are going to build the story that is going to get the recruiter's attention. So it's really important to have anything that's on there to really be of purpose and to help build your story so that you can talk to it too.
I do have one more thing to add, and I'd like Bianca's opinion on this.
Sure.
When I was applying for graduate roles last year, I did apply for a mid-tier consulting firm. And what one of the partners told me was that my resume wasn't me enough. So I didn't have enough information on me as a person. So I remember he had it in front of him and he was like, you know, I know that you've done these internships, but like what TV shows do you watch? Or like, what are you interested in? And I actually took that on board for Microsoft, and I put in things like, you know, I'm an aspiring globetrotter and I have an Excel spreadsheet of all the brownies I've tasted, and I'm on a quest to find the world's best brownie. And it was a really good conversation starter for my interviews at Microsoft. But what are your thoughts on that, Bianca? Is it worth putting in something personal like that?
I actually quite like it. I think it's really good. It depends, I guess, on the recruitment process you're about to go through. So for our recruitment process, for instance, we actually ask you a series of questions as part of your online application. So that really helps build the story, and you can add sort of things into there as well. But I definitely do think it's really important to, if you do want to, you know, put some information about your own self and about who you are as from a personality kind of side of things, it definitely helps us get to know you a little bit more and to help build that relationship, because building a relationship with the recruiter is really, really important. You want them on your side and you want them to go in and vouch for you and get you through that process. So it's not just about the recruiter finding something on your resume that they can build a story. It's also about when they start building that story, that you connect that story back to the recruiter. So you've got that conversation and that relationship that you've started to build. So that's sort of my advice around there, and how you can have it as more of a two-way connection as well. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I like that.
Just quickly, I saw someone asking, would you recommend putting the assignments that people work on in university on their GitHub? Katherine?
I'll jump in on this one. I don't think it's a good idea to put in like exactly what you did on the uni assignment to GitHub. Does that sentence make sense? Yeah. But if you make some changes based on the code, I would recommend you putting, like, I did a unit for introduction to gaming or something. So I made a game and I submit the assignment. And later on, I want to polish the game. So I made some changes and made it like better, and then put it out. And I write README to describe what is it about and where did I get the idea from. I don't think it's a good thing, and I don't think it's allowed to put your code to GitHub as well. So I wouldn't recommend that. But if you polish it later on and put it on, I think it's a good idea to do it.
Great, thank you.
Sorry, Katherine, are you speaking?
Oh, no, I'm not. Okay.
Okay, I had a question. So like for Ilasha and Katherine, like what made you guys choose to take these full-time roles at these tech companies versus the other experiences you've had? And do you feel like your university degree prepared you well enough for either of your internship or your full-time role? And what do you think that if you went back, you wish that you could have like done or learned so that you were more prepared?
Katherine, you can start.
That is a packed question, Ria.
Yeah. Sorry, that was a lot of
question. So, okay, the first one, why I chose Google, because that's the best offer I got, so I chose it. And I believe Google is like most of people's dream, so same as mine, so I chose this one. And how uni prepared me for this one, I think except for the units I did, I think it's more like the connection and what I learned from the people at uni prepared me for this. Like during uni, I met a lot of people who are all passionate about coding, or like people who are not passionate about coding but knows how to talk to people, do other type of work like consultant and marketing, those kind of things. So by talking to them makes me have a clear provision of what I want in my job. And for myself, I know that I like coding and I want my daily job to be involved in coding. So to aiming for that, to get a job related to coding, I did a lot of hackathon, actively finding internships and doing side projects and doing competitive programming was what I did at uni. And I got a lot of help from the people I know and professors and clubs, like competitive programming clubs. I got a lot of help from them, and that's how uni prepared me for those jobs. And what was the last question?
The last question is, sorry, I did give you a bit of a mouthful. The last question was, if you could do something, like knowing what you know now about what you had to learn going into Google, what do you think you would have learned at uni or just before to prepare?
Yeah, so I actually applied for the internship in Google once in my second year, I think, and I didn't get any reply and I gave up, and I was quite depressed for a while. I was like, oh, I will never get a job and stuff. I think if I go back in time, I would be more cheerful and try to contact the HR, because it was like a system generated email saying, oh, next time and stuff like that. I think if I go back in time, I'll try to advocate more about myself and tell them like I really want to know more about the company and see if I can get a chance of getting an internship. And I would recommend everyone to do that if you think you are qualified, and don't be depressed. There are always second chance. So it's like when you get rejected by a system generated email, if you get the HR's email address, I would recommend you to tell them what are you good about, not just sending them your resume, and tell them you're really passionate about this job and you really want a chance. And 50% of the chance the HR will contact you. So yeah, that's my advice and what I would do if I get back in time.
Nice.
Awesome.
Okay, so the question was,
Do you want me to say it again?
Yes.
Why did you choose the why did you choose the full-time role at Microsoft versus all the other internships you did? Did you feel like UNSW prepared you well enough to be able to thrive in those internships? And do you feel is it like, if you were to look back at what other skills would you have like tried to like enhance so that you were better prepared for your internships and your full-time role?
Okay, cool. So the first question, why Microsoft, is I started my internship with a really open mind. I went into it knowing that I might not get an offer for a graduate position, so I didn't want to get too attached to it. And I also just really wanted to assess what I wanted to do as a graduate, because it kind of felt like that feeling in year 12 when you don't really know what you're going to do at uni. I felt that all those emotions all over again. So yeah, I wanted to make sure that I really did think about it. Why Microsoft is I had the opportunity to do the internship, so I knew their way of working, and that kind of helped me really fall in love with the company and everything it stands for. A lot of the values that Microsoft has aligns with the ones that I have. And then I also found that in addition to that, a lot of the things that I'm passionate about, so education, for example, Microsoft plays a role in that space. So even though I'm not actively contributing to the things that I'm passionate about at work, I know that someone on Teams, somewhere around the world is doing something that I'm passionate about and representing my organization while they're doing their work. So yeah, I'm really happy with my choice. And yeah, loving it so far. Second question, how did my university degree prepare me for this? So I did information systems, which I hope a few of you on this call did as well. So as you know, it is quite a business-oriented way of looking at technology, and it really is the bridge between technology and the business side of things. So in my current role as a tech strategist, I find that I do this on a day-to-day basis. The way that Microsoft has evolved over time means that we're not just working with the IT teams or the infrastructure teams, for example. So we do have a big role to play in, their HR, finance departments, and their more business facing teams. So yeah, I feel like on a day-to-day basis, I am applying my degree, which is a rare thing. I know not a lot of people say that they use their university degrees in where they're working. But in saying that, I have no idea where I'm going to be in 5 years' time. So maybe I might not be in technology at all, but I hope I am. And yeah, I want to say that my information systems degree did prepare me pretty well for this. Last question, any skills I would have developed to make me more career ready? I think that I tried my best to do as much as I could in doing like the hackathons, case competitions, and the internships. But I want to say the thing I wish I did more at uni is probably just get involved with more university activities. So I was involved in some societies, but I never really got to see uni in daylight because I was like either at an internship or like just not at uni. So yeah, as much as I've made friends at uni and things like that, I would have liked to get more involved in university. So yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah, great answers, guys. Thank you. We might just do this top one here that's popped up, which is a good question. I think Bianca obviously might be able to input on this one as she didn't have a tech background. So yeah, for someone who doesn't have a tech background, do you think it's possible for them to succeed in a tech role? And what are recruiters more focused on, like soft skills or technical?
Yeah, so if I'm thinking about MYOB and our project developer roles, we do have a focus more on the soft skills when we're going through a recruitment process. But your ultimate goal for joining our program would to become a software developer. So we would have checks in place to ensure that you can code, but that's not one of the most important things to us. But then if you're looking from a different sort of lens, and if you're looking at how do I get into technology, but I don't want to be a coder and I don't want to be a software developer, because I'm not one, that's for sure. But if you're looking at it from sort of that angle, there are lots of different other roles within technology that people can get involved in, whether it be a business analyst, let's say, or it could be even from management, so people can kind of come in from that perspective as well. So there's different types of other roles that you definitely can sort of get involved in, that you don't necessarily have to be super technical, but I would say that it does help, especially if we're looking at MYOB's developer program. We're wanting to look for people who want to learn how to code and want to be coders. So you need to have that passion there, and you need to have some skills of being able to code. I hope that's answered that question.
Thank you. I'm just going to jump in here. We have around 8 minutes left, and we have 42 questions. So I don't think we're going to go through all 42 questions. Like if it's a question that we can't actually answer, or like I don't think it's appropriate, I'm just going to skip it. But to speed things up, how do you guys feel about doing like 30 seconds each, or basically just like a short input, and then we'll just go to the next question. And if you want to add stuff later, people can stay back at the end if they want to talk.
Done. Let's do it.
Okay, cool. Let's do this. I'm going to mark this as answered. Thanks so much, Bianca. Catherine and Ilasha, do you guys have anything to add to that?
Nope.
Okay, cool. That's easy. Mike is answered. Probably not going to answer that one. Thank you. I'm sorry. We're going to have to skip that. What is this? If you don't make it into the Monash I.B.L program, how should you approach the internship and job market? Okay, so pretty much the Monash I.B.L program is like the co-op program that Ilasha did, where you get to actually do a internship or placement as a part of your course. So people, this person's asking, if you don't get into that, like basically how do you make yourself more employable and like increase your prospects of getting a job?
Can I jump in here?
Thank you.
So I think that there are some grad job boards out there which will actually show which companies are looking for people with to do internships, so that you'll actually be able to go on to those different grad boards and actually look for the internships to join. So that's my recommendation, is to go onto those and seek them out.
Thank you. Sure.
I have a tip as well.
Yeah.
At least for Sydney, we have a really big startup community. And if I did software engineering, I definitely would have worked at a startup while I was at uni, just because you get not only like the startup experience, but most of the time, the stuff you're developing, your startup will probably use, because they're like pretty small. And even in this job climate, I think that they're always looking for young talent. So yeah, it's a good way to get your foot in.
Thank you. Good tips, guys. Catherine, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I'll pass.
Thank you. All right, marking as answered. Thank you. Is an undergrad degree enough to land a job in MYOB, Google, or Microsoft? Who wants to go first?
I'll jump in first. The answer is yes, because I'm an undergrad, and a lot of people who join Google as a grad has undergrad degree. So yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Bianca, since you're in recruitment, what do you think about this?
So we don't necessarily just look for people with an undergrad degree. Like our sort of wingspan there is quite open. We take on people who have done coding boot camps, and we've also take people on who are self-taught in a way. So we've got people applying that might have like a electrical engineer background, but are self-taught in programming as well. So you don't even need necessarily an undergrad degree within computer science. It can be a little bit more broad for MYOB.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Ilasha, do you have anything to add to that in terms of Microsoft?
Not really. I just know that Microsoft has a trainee program, which also is like a way for TAFE students to get involved.
Experience. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you. Perfect. Thanks so much, guys. This is answered. This is specifically at Catherine. What is it like to work? I feel like you kind of answered this. I want to quickly Do you want to quickly answer?
Okay, yes, food is as good. Everything you can find on the internet, it's even better in real life. And for the team, I'm working on like a sub-team of Google Maps. So I work on real location-based gaming platform building. So it's like Pokemon Go kind of thing, but building on Google Maps. And how did I choose? When you get hired, the recruiter will ask you like, what are your preference, like mobile, backend, front end, and you give them their preference. And if there's a there's an empty spot in any of the team, they will assign you to that one. So yes.
Thank you. Thanks so much for your answer. Marking that as answered. Hope that answered your questions about working at Google. This one says, wait, what? No, someone is okay, sure. Good, great question. Marking this as, that's not a question, is it? Okay, next one. Applicants, okay, I feel like you guys kind of answered this. Bianca, do you want to kick this off? Like, as applicants with postgraduate qualifications, are they viewed more desirable?
No.
Okay, cool. Awesome, thank you. Does having better grades imply better career opportunities? Who wants to step in here? Like,
I'm going to say first up, that's not something that we would look at as a first point. There's multiple different other things that we're looking at within the recruitment process before we would actually look into your grades. It's not something that we would even probably, we do. If you've got it on there, that's awesome, we can see it, but it's not something that we really look into. So no, not for us.
Perfect. Thank you, Bianca. So that's MYOB. Katherine, do you have anything for Google? And Ilasha, do you have anything for Microsoft? Or just in general, to be honest?
Yeah, I think I don't think my grades were considered for either my internship or my role now, but I don't know. I guess I'll never know.
I think it's important to strive to get the grades that you want, but also to kind of put it in perspective of what you can achieve, and don't be pushing yourself and burning yourself out to achieve that, thinking that if your grade is, you know, at the highest level, that's going to give you a better chance, because there's a lot of other things that recruiters are looking for than just high grades. You know, I've spoken about it before, but that whole communication piece and those other aspects that we're actually looking for as well.
Thank you. Katherine, do you have anything to add? Otherwise, I'll move on.
Yes and no. Have better grades helps you get better chance in some company, because they have specific rules saying you have to achieve HD or something. But if you don't have good grades, but you have rich experience in work and projects, I think it's also a plus point. So yes and no.
Probably about like playing to your strengths as well, that we kind of spoke about earlier too. So if you know that you can't achieve, it's not something that you can achieve those higher grades, then maybe play into that whole thing of let's go get some more experience, so you've got that on your CV.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys. That's very encouraging. Next one, I think Katherine already answered. Is it okay? I think, yeah, Katherine, you said it's not desirable.
Oh, I don't think it's good to add exact the code of your assignment codes to GitHub, but if you polish it, it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. What's this? What do you think made you stand out among other applicants to get the internship and job? Okay, I feel like we've talked about this a lot, so I guess we'll keep this quick. Whoever wants to jump in and add to this, you can. Otherwise, we'll move on. Okay, perfect. Next question. Hopefully, it's more different. What are some of the qualities of a good consultant that you look for? Is that to Bianca at MYOB? Or I guess in general, what are some qualities of a good employee you look for, or grad or intern?
Good grad or intern? Not because my role's a consultant, so
oh, okay,
you're taking my role.
That's the one you want to answer, to be honest.
No, so what are some of the qualities that we look for in a good protege that's going to be coming through? I definitely want to make sure that the person that we're hiring is, got those skills that we've recruited for throughout the process. So things like communication, collaboration, teamwork, their ability to problem solve is something that we really have a big sort of piece on, but also just the person as an individual, the willingness to learn, the understanding of the company as well. In terms of people that I see really excel in this program are people who come in and they build relationships with people, not just, you know, in their network and in their cohort, but they get to know the people in the business, and then they build connections, which helps them further in their careers. You know, the program that we have at MYOB can be a shortened program, or it can be longer depending on what you want out of your opportunity. And I see the people who are sort of striving and making those goals, of setting those goals and making those relationships and building on them to actually get themselves further. So I hope that answers that question.
Thank you. If anyone has anything to add to that, I think we'll go through one more. I think we'll go through one more and then we'll hit like the end of it. Okay. Last one. Having made the transition from university full-time work, in retrospect, what would you have done differently while at university and why?
That's what Ria asked before. So I think we're
okay. Going like Marcus answered then, because it's similar.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it harder for international students to get a job? Do you want to chip in on that, Katherine, like with your experiences?
Yeah, I would say yes, it's harder because a lot of people, a lot of companies specifically say they don't want international students. So that means you need to work harder. And as I said, there are a lot of resources at uni, and I.B.L is a good program for Monash students. And talking to people, setting up connections, and just spread out your resumes will help a lot. So try your best at uni. Do hackathons or meetups, or just talk to people will definitely help.
Yeah, thank you. So it's 7 p.m. So that's all the time we have. I'm sorry, guys. There's like 29 questions left. Probably go through them if so Ria, do you want to like kick off the final like goodbye?
Yeah, so thank you for all your awesome questions. I hope you guys got a lot out of it today. We will be choosing the winner and then contacting them privately for the Chromecast. April, did I miss something that I was meant to say?
No, you didn't. So thanks so much to our sponsors. Like, thank you, Katherine, Bianca, and Ilasha. Really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your night to just come and answer questions on Zoom. And like, I think usually at the end, it gets a bit awkward because you don't know if you're meant to leave or not. So I'll stay back. Sorry?
I said leave whenever you'll like.
Yeah, so I'll be staying back. Ria, and I'm sure some of the Mac community is staying back. If you guys want to stay back and answer questions, then feel free. Otherwise, it's fine. Like, I just don't want to end the meeting and it's just going to kick everyone out and it's going to be weird. Yes, Ria, do you want to continue, or is that all?
That was all. I do want to say thank you. I think you guys did a really great job. And like, I personally learned a lot that I didn't know. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ria, Katherine, April, and the MAC team for having us all here today. It's really awesome to be able to share some insights from the companies MYOB, Microsoft, and Google. But I hope everyone found it really interesting, and thanks. Unfortunately, I can't stay behind, but thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katherine.
I'd say, yeah, if you want to be in the running, I think we might pick just from who's registered, because then we can contact you from there.
Yep,
yeah.
we will do that.
Thank you so much, everyone who is messaging in the chat saying thank you. Cool. Ilasha and Katherine, are you guys staying back, or are you guys just sitting here like chilling?
I was just chilling, but I'm a bit. Yeah, I don't mind. Are there questions that we want to get through?
Okay, wait.
Go through the rest of them if you want.
Yeah, I can just go through them like on my phone right now. Let's see. Did anyone here do a double degree? Like, Katherine, did you do computer science?
No. Oh yeah, I did computer science, but not double degree.
Okay, Ilasha, did you do a double?
No, I did straight names.
Okay, cool. Apart from being a person. Oh, okay. Apart from being a person learning coding, I am also a professional photographer. Should I reflect this on my resume, and will that come across positive to a recruiter? Like, did you guys put hobbies or anything that you did on the side that wasn't really related to your field?
I did. I put my brownie Excel spreadsheet in, but I think that's a really cool thing. If I was a professional photographer, I'd chuck that on my resume to whoever that was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Catherine, any thoughts on this?
Personally, I don't have much hobbies, so I don't put anything on my resume. But from what I heard, some companies are interested to know your hobby and your daily life, and they might ask you like, what do you learn from those, and what kind of strengths you get from those kind of hobbies. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool to put like professional photographer on the resume.
Okay. Did you put competitive programming on your resume?
Yes. And that's coding related. That's why I put it on.
Okay, cool. I mean, that's kind of like the extracurricular side thing. Okay, guys. So general consensus, yes. Put that on your resume because it's pretty cool and it shows that you do stuff outside of uni. Someone said, oh, okay, this is specific to Ilasha. So what is the first step to becoming a tech strategist? Like, how do you even get into that? Because I know like a lot of people don't really go to uni and be like, that's a role that I can go into.
That's true. I think the reason why I didn't choose consulting, and I'm sure a lot of you are considering a career in consulting, is that the firms I looked at that are doing consulting, they're definitely picking up more of a technology arm. So, you know, McKinsey has McKinsey Digital now, same with BCG and all that. But the reason why I didn't want to go down the consulting path was because they didn't have the tech aspect of things. What I found at Microsoft was they have technical roles, but even then, Australia is predominantly sales and marketing for all tech firms, like generally, other than like Atlassian and Google, for example. But at Microsoft, I tried to find the perfect balance between consulting and technology, which was aligned to my degree as information systems as well. And we just happened to have a technology strategist role, which to me is tech consulting. So yeah, that's my answer.
Great answer. Thank you.
But in saying that, because generally as a technology strategist at Microsoft, you are working with CIOs or C-level executives because it is that high-level digital strategy. I have to say I'm definitely the youngest. Generally, like the median age is like a bit higher. It's more experienced professionals who have either like had a role leading a technology team at some organization before, or someone just who has a lot of experience. But they're recently opening it up to more graduates. So that is something to keep an eye on if you're interested.
Thank you. Yep. So if the person asking this is still here, if we have anyone who's not going to become a software engineer, like these are all the paths you can go into. And like, yeah, thanks so much for the tips. Also, feel free to like leave any time, guys. Like, there's really no pressure. Like, Catherine and Ilasha, just leave whenever.
Okay, cool.
So Catherine, I think this is more directed at you. Is machine learning an important topic to get into as a software engineer?
I don't think a lot of people. Oh, can you hear me? Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think a lot of company actually ask you machine learning related questions. But if you're like really, really professional at this field, you can talk about it. For Google, at least, the interview questions are all algorithm related, and there's not much specific machine learning related stuff. But I know there's a competition, machine learning competition, online, and I think there's a club in Monash for it as well. So if you're interested and want to put something on your resume, I would recommend doing that as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. This one's for both of you guys. How do you find, also, whoever's left here, like if you want to unmute and just ask a question and just give us a heads up, then that's fine too. How do you find a work-life balance working in tech? Whoever wants to start, I don't know. Catherine?
I'll start first. For Google, it's pretty good. I would say it's perfect. It's awesome. It's like more than what I imagined. So like the company pays a lot of attention to employees' work-life balance as well. Like if you work overtime, the manager will actually contact you, like literally contact you in person and tell you to take some time off the second day. So they don't want you to work overtime. They want you to play hard, work hard, and do your job properly. That's for Google.
Thank you. You're really overhyping Google. Like it just sounds perfect.
Time to jump ship.
No, I get Google.
Ilasha, how's your work-life balance? How do you find work-life balance in tech?
In tech as a whole, in the industry, I think it's pretty good. But for me personally, I'm trying to, well, I did move my entire life down to Melbourne for the role, so I am prioritizing work a little more at the moment, especially considering I can't really go out and meet people at the moment since we're all at home. So yeah, I'm really focusing on my work. But in saying that, Microsoft has really cool tools like, what's it called? My Analytics that tells you how active you've been on like Outlook and stuff. So I'm also keeping a track of that, making sure I don't work too hard. But I love my job, so I have no complaints in, you know, spending a bit more time doing work.
Yeah, thank you. Sounds amazing. Okay, I think this one was useful. So at what point during your degree do you recommend we start applying for internships? And then it says in brackets, should we start applying in the first year or should we wait until we know more and then apply in our second year? I don't know, one of you guys.
I'll jump in first.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think there's harm to just start applying in the first year. I know there are companies who doesn't require technical skill, like the interview question are also soft skill related, like team communication, those kind of stuff. So if you're really aiming for getting a job, I don't think there's any downside of just start applying in the first year. I know that some people are concerned about, like, if I apply this year, does that mean the next year I won't get it? I think there are so many companies in the pool. You can pick the ones you like the least in your first year, and then when you build up a bit technical skill or you know the strengths about yourself, you can start applying for the companies you really want to join and slowly doing that. I think by doing those, you get practice during those interviews as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think that there's no harm in applying as a first year, but I don't know if organizations, especially like the big ones, they generally look for penultimate, I think. So yeah, I want to go back on my startup answer and say like that's always a great place to start, and they're always looking for help. So if I was a first year and I was looking for career opportunities or just to get started with my career, I would probably reach out to a few startups on LinkedIn or something.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. This one's more related to like your university lives. So how did you manage, okay, so when you were at university, how did you manage to balance your studies with the rest of your life? I feel like I'm studying 24/7 and I'm only a first year.
Oh no.
Yes. Catherine, do you want to start on that too?
I actually enjoy my uni life. I think studying with friends is a good practice. Like if you go to tutorials and you meet some friends and you hang out to the libraries and studying together, discussing the assignments and stuff, it's kind of life as well, right? At least for me. So I'll say just meet more people and talk to friends and study together. I think it will be less stressful.
Yeah. Ilasha, any?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, not much to add actually, but I also loved uni. So UNSW, from what I hear, is like the Monash of New South Wales. So like I'm pretty much you guys, but a New South Wales version. I agree with the study groups. So like every weekend towards last year, I just spent on Teams with Ria actually, just studying for like 8 hours straight. But it was nice to have someone on the other end, just to kind of like bounce ideas off and
Not speak to.
Not speak to, put ourselves on mute, and then just do some work.
But I agree. Like I think friends are the best part of uni, and
yeah.
If you're stressed, like you can always just study together and like die together. I think that was the good part about uni.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
Mental breakdowns and crying is okay.
Yes.
I agree.
Next, this one is like very deep. It's like basically a journey. What do you wish someone would have told you earlier in your career? Ilasha, do you want to start first since Catherine's been starting first?
That's
or do you want to think about it?
Well, I can start first.
Okay.
But what I got told today actually from my mentor was that sometimes it's nice to just take a chill pill and just slow things down a little and just kind of absorb where you are in the moment. And I know that's so easy to say, and it's not something that I do, but I know that I'll probably look back on this period of my life and also wish I gave myself the same advice. But that's what I hear a lot of. I think it really also just gives you an opportunity to reflect. I wish I reflected a lot more throughout my internships, because it's something I'm trying to do now, and I actually get a lot of value out of just writing down like what I learned from a meeting, or like what I learned in a week. Because yeah, it's like your personal tracker to confirming whether you're on the right track for what you want to do or not. So yeah, I'd say reflection and just really being in the moment of what you're doing.
Awesome. Thank you. Katherine, do you have anything to add to that?
I don't have anything deep, but what I heard from my mentor and like the people around me is just don't panic when you make mistakes. I always panic when I make a mistake. I was like, oh, what should I do? But they always told me to just chill and calm down. They say it's not a big harm, and as long as you learn from it, it's fine. So yeah.
Thank you. So I think the general consensus in that is everyone just needs to chill. And like, just if you make mistakes, it's okay. And also, what was it, like, reflect on yourself, Ilasha?
Reflect, yeah.
Just take a break, guys. How do you, oh, okay, this one, like, you guys will have two completely different answers. How do you prepare for an interview? I think you should, like, it would be specific to like your role. Whoever wants to start that.
Katherine, you start.
The software engineering.
Yes, okay. I actually have two part of the answers to this question. So for Google specifically, we all know like for big tech company, they ask algorithm related questions. So if you are focusing on those specifically, do lead code, of course, to learn algorithm stuff, and those are the questions they ask. But I've done a lot of other interviews as well, and they ask a lot of behavior questions as well. Wait, go back to the previous one. Google now asks behavior questions as well. So behavior question is important most of all. But for tech skills, other than algorithm related question, if you really don't like algorithm, but you're a good good web developer or good mobile developer, I think just polish on the skills you're good at, and be prepared to talk about your project, because most of the companies will ask you what have you done and what kind of skills did you use to do those projects. And for some of the interview question, they might give you like a task, ask you to build like a simple web app in like a day and then send it back to them. So I've done those kind of things. So those are good practice for interviews.
Cool, thank you. So anyone who wants to become a software engineer, take Katherine's advice on board. Elisha, how do you prepare for your interviews?
Pretty different, because yeah, I don't have to like build an app in a day or anything. But what I did was I made sure I had a really solid introduction to like who I am as a person. So that included like career, but also personal stuff as well in my introduction. I also just had a few things that I definitely wanted the interviewer to know about me. So if it was like a 30-minute interview, at the end, I'd quickly just go through my checklist and be like, did I tell them about this cool project I did? Or like, did I make sure they know that I'm this kind of person? So yeah, that was kind of my way of assessing whether I got everything across. And then the other thing I did was I also made sure I had questions to ask them, which is always hard because you don't want to go with the generic like, oh, like, what would you have done differently in the situation you asked me before? Like, you know, just like asking their question back. So I would LinkedIn stalk them and then make sure I could kind of like ask them about themselves in a subtle way, not in a stalkerish way. So yeah, that's kind of how I prepared for my interviews, other than all the behavioral and technical in terms of what the role is kind of questions.
Perfect, thank you. This is specific to Katherine. For software engineering, is there a lot of debugging in your job?
Just the same amount as you did at uni. There are a lot of feature requests as well. So you create a new feature, but what it comes after usually is debugging. So there are different variety of coding in your daily job. But yeah, there are, I won't say a lot. It doesn't involve that much. I would say like normal amount of debugging that a normal software engineer requires.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, so if you go into software engineering, you better enjoy debugging and solving problems. This one is, oh, okay. How do you guys feel about answering imposter syndrome? Like, is that a very common question that you get asked and you're just tired of it? The question is, what is your opinion of me discussing my lack of confidence and imposter syndrome in the job interview? But I feel like there's a lot of questions just about like, how do you deal with imposter syndrome? Like, do you guys feel it? And if you do, how do you deal with it?
That's interesting. I think everyone's felt it at some point. In terms of bringing it up in an interview, if it's a part of you that you really do want to work on, but you're confident in the skills that you have, I don't think there's any harm in bringing it up, but also I don't think that's relevant to an interview. I think an interview is your chance to really sell yourself to the person. And I know that imposter syndrome is something you can work on. Like once you get the job, if the job is right for you, that's something that if you're choosing the right organization, they should help you through. But also, yeah, I don't think it's wise to share that to your interviewer, but I don't know. Like, what do you think, April? I'm sure you've thought about that too.
Okay, I would not share that to my interviewer, but I acknowledge that it is a huge issue. And I don't think it ever goes away. So I think the things that you should be doing instead is, instead of bringing up an interview, you should talk about like ways of managing it and like working on dealing with it, I think.
Yeah, that's true. It's
Sorry,
like
I'm
it's just
sponsor. Like.
no.
Choose a different weakness.
Choose a different weakness, but
Choose a
also
different weakness.
if that is the weakness you bring up, you should have a plan of attack in how you're going to resolve it. There's no point bringing up a problem without a solution. So that goes for any weakness, really.
Yeah. Thank you.
I agree with that. I think a good workaround for that is because like if I say because I'm lack of confidence, so I pay attention to small details. That makes me like very careful about my job. Like those kind of things I think it's okay to say in the interview.
Perfect. Thank you. This is specific to Katherine. I don't know if you're comfortable answering this, but someone just asked, what are the pros and cons of being a software engineer? You don't have to answer it if you don't want to like talk about it.
For me, I really enjoy it. So I think the good part is if you really enjoy it, you'll find a lot of people who are similar to you, nerdy people around you, like coding and talk about those kind of stuff and enjoying solving questions. But the con I can think about is also like you kind of stuck in this nerdy environment. Like the jokes you talk about and the things you're interested at, like it's all similar. Like if you're happy, you'll be around each other happily. But like if you're not happy with what you're doing and you're stuck in this cycle, I think someone might not be happy about that. That's what I can think about.
That's a really good answer. Thank you. Ilasha, what are the pros and cons of being an account technology strategist?
I actually don't have that many cons.
Yep.
Heaps of pros. For me personally, it's what I want in a role. So it's challenging, it's customer facing, I get to talk a lot. I get to talk about technology, I get to go to cool customers, like can I say the customers? But yeah, I get to go to cool customers. Yeah, probably not. Also, the travel opportunities are really good as well. Not this year, but the training in general for Microsoft is pretty good. The only con I'd say, but I don't even think it's a bad thing, is that there's just a lot to get your head around in this role because it's not specialized to a particular solution area. So it's not just about the cloud, for example. You kind of need to know all technologies, all customers, all stakeholders. You need to remember names. I'd say that's the biggest con. You need to remember which which Stephen is from which company, and everyone's called Stephen. So it's just little things like that. But yeah, as long as you have a good Excel tracker, I think it's all good.
Okay, cool. Thank you. The struggles of having too many Stevens.
Yeah.
Contact books. Okay, wait, sorry, this isn't related. Someone asked, when is the win of the Chromecast announced? We'll do that through email afterwards. So like, if you're here for the Chromecast, like, I'm sorry, but you're not gonna we're not like choosing someone right now. But we'll email you guys after and also announce on Facebook. Okay, I'm probably gonna end this now. So yeah, thanks so much for sticking with us, Ilasha and Katherine. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys had dinner. I hope you guys ate food before this.
Thank you so much, April and the Mac team.
Thank you.
Catherine.